Hey everybody. I am just going to get everybody. There's Mindy. I just want to make sure we add here. There we go.
Hi!
Hey there. And I just realized I forgot to remind myself how to turn the comments off. So unfortunately that
That's okay.
you're going to be covered up again. I promised everybody last week that I'd figure that out, and I did, except for now I forgot. And so,
That's totally fine. No worries.
oh my gosh. So for those of you who don't know, this is now our second Instagram live. So we're doing the learning curve thing, and it's getting better, but we'll figure it all out. A few months from now, we'll be like, oh my gosh, we were so terrible at the beginning, but we're getting there. So, so tonight we have Mindy Thompson. She is the author of The Bookshop of Dust and Dreams. It's a middle grade novel, and I'm super excited that she's here with us tonight. And I was just going to ask you, Mindy, to start off with, because not everybody who is in the audience will have read the book yet. So if you could just start by just talking about, like, what's the book about?
Hi. Well, thanks so much for having me and for inviting me to be here tonight. I'm really excited to talk about it. I actually have it. Here's the
Yay!
cover. You've seen it. Okay, so The Bookshop of Dust and Dreams is about 13-year-old Poppy Fulbright. And she lives during World War II in a magic bookshop with her family. And her family lives above the magic bookshop, and they run the magic bookshop. And they're part of a world of magic bookshops. They're not the only one of their kind. And the shops are magic because they bring customers in from the past and from the future. So people are coming in from all different decades and eras. And then right at the beginning of the book, her family finds out that a family friend has been killed fighting in the war. And the book becomes pretty quickly about Poppy and her brother debating if they can use the shop and the magic to save the family friend's life, or if that's against the rules that are kind of established in the world that they exist in. So that's kind of a brief rundown of where the book starts at.
It is just, I mean, I think the thing that's so interesting to me about this book is the idea of the whole combining the whole idea of time travel with a bookstore, which I'm sure has been done to some extent before, but it's just not the idea that you think of immediately when you think, time travel. So
Yeah.
I'm just really curious, like, what do you have, so that as a writer myself, I know sometimes you have like moments that precipitate a work, and other times it just sort of evolves over time. And so do you have a moment that for this particular book that just kind of was like, I wonder if I could do that?
Well, the original idea was just, what if there was this girl that lived in a magic bookshop with her family? And I was like, well, that's okay, that's interesting. And so that was the original idea. And then it just kind of over time evolved as I asked, well, like, why is it magic? And what does this look like? And so it wasn't just like one thing that I decided to make it time travel, but it just evolved as the story kind of unfolded.
That is so cool. I am gonna ask, like, how did you figure out how to balance that? Because it's a pretty heavy topic.
Mm-hmm.
How did you figure out how to balance, like, making it a fun middle grade read and also because it's magical and there's so much atmosphere in the book, but it's also dealing with something that's really hard. And how did
Yeah.
you kind of figure out how to balance that? Because I know that different authors choose a different balance, depending, do they want the book to be really sad? Do they want it to be
Mm-hmm.
not really sad? And so
Mm-hmm.
how did you figure that out for yourself?
I definitely think that was one of the hardest things about writing the book, was trying to figure out what that balance was, because I think in early drafts it was really sad and there wasn't enough magic. And so really in my revision process, a lot of it was figuring out, how do I bring more magic in? How do I make lighter moments when we're dealing with something that's, like grief, that's really difficult. And but I always have loved bittersweet. Like, I really love a book that has a bittersweet ending. I love a happy ending, but I
Yeah,
love when
yeah.
there's an ending that really hits hits you hard, and you're happy that it ended, but also we didn't get everything we wanted as the reader. And so I think I always knew that's kind of what I wanted to do with this book. But yeah, the balance of the magic and the grief was it was a tough line to walk. And I think revision really helped me try to find the magic more every single step of the writing process, which I think was a fun way to do it. I think it was fun to start out heavy and then to get to lighter elements to make it more magical.
Yeah, that's super cool. Because I think the other thing that answer touches on is that whole writing process of, which comes first and what happens in the first draft versus what's happening in edits. And that's very cool.
Yeah.
So someone, I don't know if they're in the audience tonight, but I had asked for questions at one, and one person said, I didn't actually see this, but are you currently a school librarian, or you were a librarian?
Yeah, I'm not currently right now, but I worked in school libraries for about 3 years. I live in Idaho, so locally I worked in middle school libraries.
So she was curious, like how your experience as the school librarian, like how that impact. And so I would expand on that, is like how did that impact both, like how you approach writing the book, and then just how you approach creating a character of that age and that kind of thing.
Yeah, so I think it did impact the book, because as I was writing it, I was really writing it for those kids that I had worked with. I saw a lot of kids in the middle schools here, they're 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, and they're kind of in that in between middle grade and young adult. And so I wrote this for upper middle grade, for that upper end of the middle grade, so that, I really wanted those kids to be able to see themselves in the book that I wrote. And so I think that they were all a little bit in my mind as I was working on it. And then as far as the main character, I think what really stuck with me with those kids that I worked with was that not every kid is gonna be the hero at the beginning of the story that's gonna just charge in, save the day from page 1. And so for me and for this book, what I really wanted was a character that maybe was a little bit more reluctant and a little bit more scared. And I think part of Poppy's theme in this book is how do we overcome the things that we fear to get to the end of the story. And I really wanted to write that, where it's a character who has to dig deep and really find her courage, that she didn't have it on page 1. And I think that's the kind of kid I was in middle school when I was reading books, and it was the kind of kid I really wanted to write for.
I think it's really interesting that you talk about writing for the upper middle grade, because I know when my kids were going through that stage, we found that there's an awful lot of books that are like 3rd, 4th, 5th, even 6th grade. And then there's this kind of weird period where are you reading YA? YA what, and sometimes they were ready to read the words in YA. I mean, like reading level wise, they were plenty ready, but maybe they weren't quite wanting that sort of high schoolish thing just yet. So I think it's really interesting that you chose to choose that specifically, that upper middle grade audience.
Yeah, that's what I found working in those libraries as well, is that really is a struggle for some of those kids, and I think that really led me to upper middle grade, and I really love it for that reason.
Do you have your own favorite bookstore memory?
Oh, that is a great question.
Maybe not favorite. Favorite's always the bad word. Some good, bookstore memories, maybe from when you were a kid, or like does the bookstore in the book, which is really kind of a character in and of itself. Yeah,
it is.
Like, does it come from like bookstores that you've been to, like even little pieces of bookstores, or?
Yeah, I think probably little pieces of places that I've really been. As a kid, I was really lucky. My mom loves reading. And so as a kid, she took us to the bookstore, and, we'd be able to pick out 1 or 2 books almost every time we went. And so probably my favorite memories are being able to really just, a bookstore as a kid is just magical, even if there's not really magic. It's just this place with all of these colors and all of these books. And so my favorite memories are getting to pick out books at the bookstore. But I think the Bookshop's personality, and that the way that it's a character, you know, I think I drew on libraries that I've worked in and bookstores that I visited, and, you know, just a place that I would want to exist. You know, I want to go to Rhyme and Reason, and I want to stay there and read books. And so I really wanted to create a place where people who also love books would just see the magic in it as well.
So who's the most interesting character that you have come, like, say, not from the time period of the bookstore?
So from the past or the present? Oh, that is a really great question. One of the characters that I loved, there's a Basque grandmother who has twin grandchildren that she brings into the bookstore, and I loved their dynamic of the grandmother who brings her grandkids in to read, and they go to the children's section and they put costumes on and they dress up, and I loved that. I loved those characters so much. They were one of my favorites to describe and to bring to life in the story.
That's very cool. I keep looking over. It's because I have notes. Let's see. This is your debut book, right? Okay.
Yeah, it is.
I just want to make sure, because I'm asking this question that I thought I was pretty sure it was. And I'm just curious for you now that you know, because a lot of, you know, if we want to be published and then suddenly we are, like, it's finally happened.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything like unexpected or surprising that's happened that, you know, or that wasn't quite what you thought it would be, or was better than you thought it would be?
The whole process is, I think I've said it's exactly what I thought it would be and nothing what I thought it would be. And somehow it's kind of hard to explain that, I think, to somebody that hasn't been through it. But, you know, just the process of having people read your books is surreal. You know, it's not quite what I thought it would be, but, like, it's also amazing. And the whole process, there's so many layers to it. So I would say I was mostly surprised, I think, through the whole process, because, you know, as much as you want to read about it and how do you get published and what are all the stages, I think until you're living it and you're going through all of it, you just don't know. You just don't know what to expect.
It's kind of like having kids. Like, you think you know
Yes.
what to expect it, and then you
Yes.
really don't.
Yes, exactly like that. That's a really good example. Yeah.
So is the theme something that you will anticipate carrying forward into other books, or, you know, like will the bookshop return, or is this kind of closed off? You know, did you kind of close it off and say, okay, I'm done with that? And
I closed it off, but I think the way that I set up the world, I would love to write more books from this world. I think I loved the way the magic worked, and it wouldn't even have to be about Poppy. I think I could set a bookstore in a different time and a different place and do that. So I would love to do that at some point.
That would be awesome.
Yeah,
like different bookstores all over the place and different time periods. That would be very neat.
Yeah, I think it would be cool.
Do you have something that you're working on that you're allowed to talk about for?
I can't say much. Yeah, I am working on another project. It's not a bookshop related, but it will be another upper middle grade fantasy that's set in like 1912. But it's in really early stages, and so I can't really say much about it. But yeah. But for now, I'm sticking in the middle grade.
Yay!
I love it.
Awesome.
And, yeah.
And then, do you have a favorite book that you have read this year? I'm going to start asking people that, since we're leading up to Christmas. If the people that we're talking to have favorite books that they read that they would recommend.
Yes. Okay. I have The Gilded Girl by Alyssa Coleman.
I'm writing this down.
Love, love, love. This is a middle grade historical fantasy. Absolutely love it. So this one's great. And then I love the sequel to Eva Evergreen's Semi-Magical Witch. This is a 2-part series. These are amazing. If you like Studio Ghibli, Kiki's Delivery Service, this book is amazing for that. And then this one I haven't read yet. I just got it, but I've heard amazing things about it, called Cece, Rios, and the Desert of Souls. I'm really excited about this middle grade.
How that looks cool.
There was so much amazing middle grade that came out this year. So yeah, Christmas, if you need books for kids, look at the 2021 list. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's
they're
like,
amazing.
I didn't get to all of them.
I know there's too many, there's so many, but there were so many amazing books that came out this year.
All right. I am going to ask if anybody in the audience, actually, I'm going to do something really quick here. So the screen's going to go weird. I'm just warning everybody. Okay. We're not going away, I promise. I'm going to invite Debbie to join us. She also works at the bookstore. She's our buyer.
Oh,
I
awesome.
think she might, we'll see if she pops in here. Because I think she might have some questions too that she hasn't gotten to ask yet. So but we'll see if she sees that I've pinged her and she pops in. So what was the hardest thing for you what's the hardest part of the process for you when you're writing?
I think drafting, the very first draft is the hardest part because you don't, there's nothing there. You're just pulling it out of, I love revision because you have something to improve, but that first draft is so tough. Yeah.
And when you look back on it, like, do you have a favorite part of the book?
I do. I love, there is a scene where Poppy gets to go inside another bookshop. So she gets to go into a bookshop called the Woodland Winds. So the whole book we see just Rhyme and Reason, her family's bookshop, but then about 75% of the way in, she gets to go to another bookshop. And being able to write another bookshop was so fun. And that scene was not originally, I think it came into play in like the third or fourth draft. It wasn't originally there. And so I had been just writing Rhyme and Reason for a year. And then to get to explore another bookshop and what it looked like was so fun. I loved it.
So where is the other bookshop? Is it a different place in time or place?
No.
Or?
Same, it's the same time. I'm like, what is it? I'm trying to remember. It's the same time, but it's in a different state, but she gets to, she's in this moment when she's all alone, and that other bookshop kind of shows itself to her, and she's able to go through the front door, and her friend is inside and helps her in this really dark moment that she has. And so, that's why, I don't know. It was just fun to get to explore. What does another bookshop look like in this world? And it was really great.
I am looking something up really quick.
Cool.
That is why I suddenly look like I am not looking at you. I apologize.
No worries, you're fine.
I invited Debbie to join us, but she's new to this as well. And so she's trying to figure out how to accept the invitation.
It's tricky.
Yeah. And I actually haven't been there from that end. I've only been the host. So I'm like, I don't know how to tell you.
I think it should just pop up and like say accept, but I'm not 100% sure about that. I don't know when you add a third person what that looks like.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing is I don't know. Like, I know you can add, and we're going to have, she says, I don't see anything for me to click. We're going to have 4 people total next week. And so I'm like, I got to figure this out.
Do a test, recruit 3 people. Yeah.
So Debbie, you could type a question for me if you want to. She's there. She's like, I'm here. I can't. It's like being in the little box that you can't get out. Yeah. So Debbie, I see you. And if you want to type a question in, if you had a question, that would be awesome. And anybody else who wants to type a question in for Mindy, please do so. I am looking at them come by. So we're happy to do that. So in the meantime, do you have any assistance in your furry assistance when you're writing?
I don't.
Oh no.
No, yeah, I should. No, I don't. Yeah, at the current moment. But I know most authors do. So I need to get a cat or something.
They're the best because they'll sit on your, they'll be the ones that sit on your screen and erase what you wrote. And
oh yeah. And distract you from writing, right?
Exactly. It's like, no, don't pay it. No, pay attention to me. All right, I'm gonna peek over. I don't see any questions come in through. So is there anything that you wanted to share that I didn't ask a question about?
Oh, I don't think so. I think you asked great questions.
Oh, thank you. Oh, there you go. Here, hang on. Debbie says, I just have to say, though, I love the book. I'm partial to books that take place in bookstores. And I'm very jealous that our bookstore was not magical when I was a kid.
I love that. I know. I wish all bookstores were magical. It would be amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and they are magical, but yeah,
Yes.
not quite at the
Yes.
same
Not,
level.
yeah.
All right, I think we're done here then, everybody, unless somebody else wants to throw a question in really, really fast. But Mindy, thank you so much for coming. It was so fun to talk to you. And just so you all know, you can buy the Bookshop of Dust and Dreams from Vintage Books, obviously. And we have copies in the store. And if you're not local, you are welcome to go online, vintage-books.net, and we have copies available online as well. So
Thanks so much for having
thank
me.
you. Have a great night.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.